Good evening. Again, just kind of felt like chilling, sitting up tonight. Today was tiring. Um, got up, slept in, almost didn't get out of bed till 1 o'clock. Slept till like 12:30 because I stayed up too long last night. Not tonight. Not a mistake I'm repeating. I'm pretty sure it's either midnight or shortly after. Ignore that titty. It's 12:02. That was not worth it. So let's go over the things of note, shall we? Got in the yards again. Didn't know I was going to. Mom asked me to vacuum the den, which was no big deal, and when I came back in and sat down, Dad was out front with the lawnmower picking up pine cones, and he had not told me he was going to be out there, and honestly, the only reason I was like, is because if Mama hadn't been laying down and she'd spotted him first, she'd have been mad at me. Why'd your daddy out there by himself? Because he don't tell me nothing. We got a solid chunk of it done, though, and tiring as it was. Thankfully, we stopped before we gave out, which is something we don't usually do. We usually just work till we drop, but the both of us were feeling it, so we went ahead and called it a little early so that I can keep piling over the next few days and not just be spent for the week at this point, since it's Thursday. Pretty sure it's Thursday. It's Thursday, yeah. Friday now. Booted up PSO2 and just wasn't feeling it. I logged in. I didn't feel like doing any of the things that were like on the table today, and so I exited out and started what ended up being a surprisingly long process of loading Breath of Fire 2 on my SNES Classic. And basically what I learned was always open the tool I use in administrator mode, because up until that point it gave me 9 different kinds of hell, and I thought I'd bricked my Classic, but thankfully, even having to because I had to run the repair tool on it, and even though I had to do that, it was fine. I lost all of the games I had loaded onto it, but I think I had a few, but I think the only ones I had on there that I actually care about were Randomized Siege of Metroid, which I can just put back on there, and this ROM hack I was into for a while called Metroid Arcade, which basically turned Super Metroid into a roguelike, and that was pretty cool. But like any of the stuff I actually care about, I can get back on there. I wasn't deep into any of the games I was playing on there. The only games I've played to any sort of full extent on my Classic is I did a full playthrough of Final Fantasy VI, and a full playthrough. It was my first time finishing Final Fantasy VI. Do you mind? Jesus, Vincent. You probably didn't even hear it. That was probably louder to me than it was for you. And then I think it was just last year I did Link to the Past for the first time. First time spending any significant amount of time playing it, and played it all the way through, which was sort of a big deal because it came out the year I was born, and I want to say it came out towards my birthday, but I could be talking crap on that one. Hang on, let me risk a titty again for something real quick. No, it's too dark for you to even see it. November 21st, 1991. So it came out 9 days after, no, 8 days after I was born. So that was kind of really cool. I wonder if that's the actual release date or the North American one. No, in North America it did not come out here until April of 92, but the original Japanese release date is November 21st, 91. Cool. God. It took it almost a year to get to Europe. It's so strange that... Oh, that's neat. I didn't know that. Link Between Worlds came out November 22nd. So literally a day past its 12th anniversary is when the sequel of sorts came out. That's cool. I didn't know that. Getting sidetracked. Yeah, it's interesting to think that, you know, I was born in a time where it took games months and sometimes close to a year to be localized, and now, for the most part, with popular series, we see global, you know, like you get global release date. Oh God, I can't remember which one it was now, but I feel like this could be a false memory, but I feel like I'm remembering the hype that was the first Pokemon game that was simultaneously released in the East and West. And I can't remember what gen it was now. I feel like it was the DS one. I could be completely making that up. It might have been a different, or it might have been a different series, but I feel like it was a Pokemon game, a mainline Pokemon title that had a simultaneous release. And it was like a big deal because it was one of the first times either that series or like a series that big was getting a simultaneous release. I remember the Kingdom Hearts came out so far apart that you got like the original Japanese release, the Western release, which had a little bit more, and then the Japanese would get a second release, which we all know as the final cut now, which had even more, usually alluding to sequels more than anything, but also sometimes some refined gameplay elements or added things. And we didn't get real versions of those games until much, much later, when they were re-released on current hardware at the time, which was PlayStation 3. And I think it was even later still before you got the bigger bundles, because they came out in drip feeds. You get Kingdom Hearts 1 Remastered. You got like the 1.5 and 2.5 collections, I think they were called. The 1.5 was First Kingdom Hearts and Chain of Memories, along with Days, just broken down into... Well, actually, with Days, they did a lot of work. I don't know how much work, because, like, I remember... I think that was the same amount of work, but anyway, the DS game, both games, I'll get the second one later, but they went back and recorded all of the essential story in cutscenes, and so you basically got that game as like a 3.5 hour movie. Then the second one came out, which was 2, Birth by Sleep, and which one was it? Because I don't think it was coded. I think that was later. No, it was coded. Yeah, coded. Which we didn't even realize was important until Kingdom Hearts 3 came out. Because of course it is, Nomura. Of course it is. And then we got the 2.8, which was Dream Drop Remastered, the 3DS game. Essentially a demo of Kingdom Hearts 3, but it was also a story teaser as well, because it was both a prequel and a remake of the unlockable epilogue episode of Birth by Sleep. If I remember correctly, it was like a revamped, sort of retconned, fragmentary passage. But it was called Final Prologue now. And then also on that one was an original movie based around Union Cross, which was just known as Key at the time, I think. I didn't think looking up the release date of of Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past was going to lead to this conversation. But here we are. And then, anyway, going back to my day, after we came back in, a little while afterwards, the youngins came over, and Audrey's going through this phase where she just does not like me, and will not speak to anyone in the room if I am also in the room. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt my feelings. But she's also like 2.5, so it's not like I hold it against her, but it does kind of make me feel like crap when I have to leave the room so that she'll even talk to Mom and Dad. Aggravating. And she just goes through these phases, because sometimes she's fine, or even some days within 3 minutes she's over it. Others, like, God forbid I be the first person she sees when she gets here, because then it's like 10 minutes to get her to stop throwing a fit. I don't... Makes me feel bad. I've not done anything to her. Of course I haven't. I'm just like... I don't know, she goes through these phases. She went through a similar thing with my dad for a while, and now he's her best friend. So, we keep hoping for that to break, but she seems pretty set in hating me for a while. Liam don't care. Liam don't care who you are. Especially if you're wearing a necklace, you're his best friend. But yeah, I was actually able to get into Breath of Fire 2 today, and I'm enjoying it so far. I feel like this might have been the first series, because the first Breath of Fire had it too, to implement like a functioning day-night cycle. And by that I mean, like, very early on in the first Breath of Fire, there is, as a matter of fact, it's the third town, like after your first place, your second place, it's the third place you visit if you count where you begin. And to get in, you have to leave the town and wait for it to be night, and then go back in so that the guards that are blocking you during the day are asleep. And it made me think, I feel like this might be this first series to have. I would have to look it up. There's probably some obscure nonsense on like the Commodore 64 that had a functioning day-night cycle or something like that. But as far as like like fully, not that not that everything before like OG Nintendo or arcade games doesn't count. I'm not saying it doesn't count, but I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But like, yeah, it was just really interesting to have that, and I really am trying to rack my brain thinking what might have been next, honestly. Ocarina of Time comes to mind, but there had to be something before then, didn't there? Anyway. I mean, there's the season thing in Oracle, but you force that change. It doesn't just happen over time. And then, like, you know, there are day-night things in, like, Final Fantasy, but it's, like, always specifically story-related, meaning it'll happen along with the story. Or there's, like, an area that's always dark or something like that, but, like, you know, actually having to stand around and wait for the sun to go down and it to be nighttime to proceed is what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm tired. And I'm tired of sitting like this, so I'm gonna go to bed. Good night.